First, rent control, now just cause eviction protections. Another anti-landlord law has failed to pass in the state of Colorado. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News.
What did I do to deserve this?
Jesse tells the problem solvers he knows the fear of being wrongly evicted.
Been paying my rent, I've been doing my part, but because you're biased on some reason or the other, that you're going to feel like you have to evict me?
Other tenants in Colorado have complained about shady landlords finding ways to kick them out of their homes for all sorts of reasons that have nothing to do with the law.
If you are unnecessarily removed, then you are going to have a really hard time finding a new place.
Representative Javier Mabry of Denver co-sponsored the Just Cause eviction bill to fight against the devastating impact of losing a home.
Those are burdens that working families really can't keep up with.
The bill only allows an eviction if a tenant fails to pay rent after the landlord provides written notice, commits a serious lease violation without making it right within 10 days of receiving written notice, refuses to allow the landlord to enter the property after 72 hours of written notice, or refuses to sign a new rental agreement with terms that are basically identical to the current one. And that's a sticking point.
All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the fact that the Just Cause eviction protections in the state of Colorado failed to get it, all the way through the committee in Colorado State Legislature. So I told you just a short while ago about how a rent control proposal had failed to pass through committee and the legislator. And, it's really kind of surprising because I actually thought that Colorado was one of those places that had gone, full as far left as it could possibly go, and we're pushing for mostly socialist policies. Now, it looks like for now, at least, there are some checks and balances that have been able to keep these laws from passing. And I'm glad, okay? I feel good that, there still is some common sense in a place like Colorado. I think the state is absolutely beautiful. The people there are nice, but the politics there, I just don't agree with a lot of them. And, this anti-property rights, anti-landlord stuff that's been passing, well, it scares me. It scares me because, why do I want, a state that's right next to the one I live in? I live in Nebraska. Well, Colorado's right next to us, right? Why would I want a state so nearby to suddenly start passing these laws, and then I could see that kind of thing spreading over to near where I live, okay, and where I invest. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Did you believe that Colorado was going to pass this, just cause eviction protection, or the rent control bill for that matter, okay? I did, okay? I was wrong now twice. And I guess the other landlords who are watching this video from Colorado, you could probably tell me better why politically, these things weren't feasible within the state, at least not yet, okay? Because, I honestly thought it was already leaning that way, looking at all the different proposals, etc. I got to remember, the whole state isn't Denver. So, I mentioned that when the rent control provision didn't pass. The whole state is not Denver. So there must be a lot of people in the rest of the state who just are not in support of these sort of rules and laws, okay? So anyway, let's get into this article because they have some good details on the whole situation. This article is coming from the denverpost.com, and it says, "Last of Colorado progressives' priority housing bills dies as legislature winds down. Bill would have given renters more say over staying in their homes." And in Colorado, they call it the just cause eviction protections. I believe in New York and in other places, they call it good cause eviction. And basically, it has nothing to do with actually being evicted. And I know that's confusing, but here's the thing. Simply put, what they do is they say, when the end of the lease comes up, if it's like a 12-month lease, for example, well, if you decide you don't want to renew that lease for the tenant, well, they consider that an eviction. Well, the tenant did nothing wrong, and you decided to kick them out. Well, that's considered an eviction in some places, right? To me, and to most landlords, we just consider it the terms of our contract have come to an end, and we decided not to renew the contract for another year. It's kind of like when you lease a car at the end of 3 years or 2 years or however long your lease is, you got to give the car back to the dealer. Well, it's the same with the house. You got to give the house back to the landlord. You can purchase the car from the dealer, or you can sign another lease, but that doesn't mean that, you know, the dealer has to give you a new lease, and that doesn't mean that I as the landlord have to give you a new lease. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. A bill to cut down on renter displacement died a procedural death in the Colorado Senate last Sunday night, with a log-jammed calendar and uncertain support dooming a key piece of progressive Democrats' housing agenda. HB 23-1171 would have enacted just cause eviction protections in Colorado, essentially giving renters a first right of refusal on whether to renew their leases. Supporters said the bill would have cut down on displacement and insulated renters from discriminatory or arbitrary, as well as costly, removal by landlords. Several renters had testified at earlier committee meetings that their leases weren't renewed after they asked for repairs. Amid a broader increase in both rents and evictions statewide, the bill represented a central piece of some Democratic lawmakers' push to protect renters this year. Yeah, they find some, oh, you know what? My lease wasn't renewed after I asked for the landlord to make repairs, right? Well, simply put, right? Whatever the reason was, the landlord didn't renew your lease, that is up to the landlord. The landlord is the property owner, okay? If I had a tenant coming and, you know, yelling at me and cussing me out for, you know, for stuff that's broken, you know, stuff breaks. Stuff breaks all the time. You know, it's a house. I'm sure, you know, a lot of renters don't realize this, but hey, when you're a homeowner, you got to pay to fix stuff, and stuff still breaks. It's not like every place you're going to move into is going to be perfect, right? So if I get cussed out by some tenant because I'm not fixing stuff fast enough or to the level that they expect, well, maybe I'm not going to renew that tenant's lease, okay? Because, you know, it's more an attitude problem with that tenant. But anyway, let me continue. With the session ending Monday night, the full Senate needed to give the measure an initial A vote by the end of the day Sunday. Supporters had already accepted the bill was likely to die, either because it lacked sufficient support or because of the ticking clock. Senate Democrats were also rushing through a bill to flatten Tabor checks. And with an hour to go Sunday night, Just Cause fizzled out. I feel like just cause should have been an easy thing, said Representative Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez, a Denver Democrat and one of the bill's co-sponsors. She and other supporters have pointed to a policy document circulated by the Biden administration supporting the policy as evidence that it wasn't a radical proposal. The White House was like, just cause should be part of your package of policies the state legislature should be passing because it's good policy, and we failed to do that. So I think that is a huge hit. So this politician believes, oh, good cause isn't a radical thing because it was proposed by Biden? Really? Really? That's just dumb, okay? Biden is the same person who passed eviction moratorium even though he knew it was unconstitutional. Yes, just cause is extremely radical, and don't take his word for it because he has no common sense when it comes to property rights and what's good for, you know, property owners and landlords. The only thing he's trying to do is gain a few votes from these far left-leaning progressives, right? And simply put, it doesn't have anything to do with the reality that landlords face every single day. The measure had faced opposition from Republicans and more moderate Democrats. Opponents said it would entrench problem tenants and prompt more landlords to get out of the rental market. A message sent to the Colorado Apartment Association, which opposed the bill, was not returned Monday. And the people who thought those things, right, that basically would entrench problem tenants were absolutely correct, okay? That is exactly what's happening in places that already have these sort of laws in place, okay? They got tenants that do not get along with their landlords, okay? We have two colliding heads, and for whatever reason, they're bumping, and it is a disaster area. So, you know, it makes no sense to me whatsoever that a business owner is forced to keep doing business with somebody they just don't get along with for whatever reason. It makes no sense. If a business owner is like, hey, listen, this person, he hits on my wife, makes sexually suggestive comments to my teenage daughter, and I don't want to do business with this person anymore. Even if he is paying the rent every single month and has violated none of the rules in my lease, he's a creep. And I just want to get him out of my property. Well, you can't do that under good cause or just cause eviction protections, because that isn't one of the reasons why you can get rid of a person. So you got this problem tenant in there who harasses your family and, maybe treats you like crap, and you just got to put up with them for however long they want to stay in your property. That is idiotic. And that's the reason why I don't agree with these laws whatsoever. Now, I know that's an extreme example. I know this, right? But I have to use an extreme example because the people watching this video who aren't landlords, who are tenants, they don't understand. They think that, oh, well, nothing like that ever happens. Yeah, stuff like that happens all the time, okay? Sometimes you just don't get along with people. And it's not discrimination. It's not racist. It's just, hey, two people who just don't, get along with each other. And it's much easier if you can just break that contract and then move on and not have to deal with that person anymore. And yeah, I know there's going to be a financial hit, but there's always going to be a financial hit to a tenant or somebody whenever they need to move. And no tenant ever stays in your unit forever. At least that's not the way the rental market normally works. There's long-term tenant, I would say, would be anyone who stays longer than 5 years. But the grand majority of tenants, and I've done research on this before, in apartments, I believe it's 2 years. And houses, I think it was 3 years, right? and so, right there, that is what you expect. You don't expect tenants to live in a unit for 30 years. Yeah, that only happens in places where the rent control prevents people from moving because their rent is so cheap. But anyway, good to hear that these eviction protections have not passed in the state of Colorado. Maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope there. Maybe I'm wrong on that too, okay? Don't take my word for it. But, for now, landlords in the state of Colorado, they're celebrating a victory.